Men and women all over the globe are joining now for the best videos on the internet.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
And I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part. Are you? Click the subscribe button now to become a member of the Action Pack. Would you like to know more?
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Mike, and with me today I have...
Other Mike.
And our question for you today is, do you like the MCU? Do you still like the MCU? Have you held on past Endgame and everything? What is it, Phase 4 now? Did you like the first Captain Marvel movie? So one way or the other in answering those questions, I think it's fair to say that we have good news for some and bad news for others, because this is Mike's After Action Reviews, and this is the After Action Review for The Marvels. Are you a gym rat, or even just somebody who works to stay healthy through exercise? If so, I have found your new favorite color. Purple. Purple Works Nutrition offers a pre-workout manufactured right here in the good old US of A. Their pre-workout is formulated by a healthcare professional with a simple, easy-to-understand list of all natural ingredients with no preservatives or artificial flavors. Action Pack members, in the words of the mighty Grom Hellscream, why be strong enough when you can be stronger still? By harnessing the power of Purple. Purple Works Pre-Workout is the ultimate pre-workout supplement that targets tried and true ingredients that deliver energy, focus, and strength. You can find this pre-workout at purpleworksnutrition.com. You can find a link in the description down below. All right, guys, as always, I've got my notes here. We've got our guest, and we are going to start with the movie's production. So The Marvels was released on November 10th, 2023. It had one production company behind it. And as always, guys, all of the production stuff is going to be coming from IMDb, so if there's any confusion about production company stuff or writers or any of that, take it up with IMDb, because that's my source. Okay, so according to IMDb, it has one production company, the Marvel Studios, which is most well known for Loki, which is the Disney Plus series that actually it just finished. It was the second season, right? It only had 2 seasons.
Yep.
Yeah, and that went from 2021 to 2023. I don't know if they're going to do another season. But anyway, and then also most recently, Marvel Studios did Secret Invasion, which was another Disney Plus series earlier this year in 2023. Basically, we've talked about this before. Marvel Studios, sometimes they have some good stuff. There's some rays of light, but they've kind of been going downhill for a while now. And we're going to talk about this movie and what we each of us think about whether that trend has continued here. But yeah, so I think that it's like there's always potential for them to do well, but at the same time, most of the time I would say that they don't live up to that potential, at least fully, but sometimes they don't live up to it at all. So anyway, going on to the writers. So the writers here, so we have Nia DaCosta, and she also, we're going to talk about her as the director, but she was also the director. So she has 2 previous movie credits, and that's it. She only has 2 previous movie credits as a writer. So she's most well known for Candyman in 2021, which she wrote, and then also Ghost Tape, which was a podcast series in 2020. Then we have Megan McDonnell, who only has 1 previous writing credit, which was Disney Plus's miniseries WandaVision from 2021. And then we have Elisa Karasik, most well known from Loki, the Disney Plus series, again 2021 to 2023, and also did Lessons in Chemistry, which was an Apple TV Plus miniseries in 2023. So right away, I would say I didn't look at this before I went into the movie, but regardless of what the actual quality of the movie is, right away looking at the writing staff, that is a red flag because you have two so the director and the writer. She's a director and also helped write the movie. She only has 2 movie credits. The second credited writer has 1 movie credit. And then the one that is the third credited writer, meaning normally you go down the list of like who has the most power and control. The only one that has any experience is the third listed writer. And I'm going to tell you, Loki is what she's most well known for. And, some people have liked it. And then there's also been some criticism. So that's kind of like, like it's not a solid. It's not the most solid base, is what I'm trying to say. And even her. So this is just looking at the IMDb and pulling up the IMDb. This Alyssa Karasik, who is the most experienced writer, has 4 writing credits, which is this movie, Lessons in Chemistry, another TV miniseries, and in We Crashed, and then yeah, that's it. So that's the whole thing. So moving forward, as we move forward, it's important to bring this up, and this is something that we do here at Mike's After Action Reviews that other people don't, is we talk about the director, we talk about the writers, because as we move forward and you start to hear our criticisms, realize this is where it comes from. It comes from the people that made it, and the people that made it in this instance did not have the greatest amount of experience in writing movies. They just don't. Even if it was good, they just don't. So any issues that we're going to talk about, you got to realize, hey, that's, yeah. And I think Marvel has talked about how they're going to start moving away from giving the movies to directors and writers and stuff who have written nothing, and then instead of giving them right away, giving them like $100 million movie, they yeah. So any thoughts on any of that or any of those series that you seen, like the Candyman or WandaVision or Loki or any of that?
Well, despite them being rookies, I thought the writing was pretty good in the movie. I thought it went well. I'm not saying it's the best script, but it's not the worst one that I've seen either. So I think it was pretty good.
Okay.
So
okay.
I think they did a good job, but you're right. Sometimes that's kind of a gamble, getting somebody who's not, seasoned in writing. Right.
Yeah. I will say, so I do have some, and I'm sure that you actually do. I know you just said, that it was pretty good. I'm going to say I do have some criticisms for the writing, but I will say that as inexperienced as they are, it is better than, like I said, initially I would have called this a red flag. So going into the movie, watching it, and then even having some criticisms, I would say, like, actually, this is better than I thought. They did better than I thought that they would have done based on their history. Okay? Or their credentials as far as what they've done in the past. So I will, so we're going to talk about that, but I will say, I think that their inexperience here plays into some of the criticisms that we're going to have. But they did do a good job, as far as being people who aren't as experienced. So, okay, and then this is actually the biggest one now. So talking about the director. So this is directed by Nia DaCosta. Now I did say she has, she was a writer, but she has no other directorial credits. And actually I was surprised by that because I would figure that she'd at least have one. But just thinking about it, I actually have mixed feelings about this. So for one thing, it's like, look, this is a huge budget movie. You should have a director. Normally, in any profession, you start small and you get bigger and bigger as you have successes, right? But then at the same time, I do know that Marvel does this thing where they have the producers like Kevin Feige and the big ones at Marvel actually have a huge amount of control over the directors. So I kind of have mixed feelings as far as how bad it is to have. Again, this is just, I'm talking about how big of a red flag. Not. I'm not criticizing the movie here yet. I'm just saying, like, how big of a red flag is it to have a Marvel movie where the director has never directed anything before? I know that it is a red flag, But I don't know how big of a deal it is because I do know that Marvel heavily controls how the movie's directed anyway. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, she doesn't have a whole lot of. I'm looking at her, just the 4 movies that she had. The only one I even heard of was Candyman, and I never went. She was a writer for that.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty big step to do that. To put somebody out there with, like you said, $100 million movie, and then they're directing it. I'm not saying he did a bad job, but it doesn't seem very wise. That it seems like Disney would, with $1 billion, I'm assuming it's $1 billion company, that they would have more forethought to see who's going to work best for this movie, do the homework before they get there. But it seems almost like, if I was going to bet my money, I wouldn't have bet on that person to be the director of that movie.
Yeah. I will say that, okay, so Candyman, as you were saying, just to be clear, she wrote Candyman. She did not direct it.
Correct,
so, yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So my big thing about something like this is like, so Good Will Hunting. That's just one that or Rocky, right? Okay. Good Will Hunting and Rocky were 2 unique movies in that they were no-named, like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote Good Will Hunting, took it to a production company, and they said, we wrote this movie, we want to play in it, and we want to have a part in producing it and all this stuff. And they said to them, the production company said to them, why would we just let you 2 no-name nobodies come in here and make this movie? And they said to them one word, and that one word was Rocky. Okay? And then they got the movie. Okay? And Rocky, to be very clear, Rocky was a movie that Sylvester Stallone wrote. He didn't direct the first one, did he? Let me see. Rocky.
Well, he definitely made himself as the main character in the movie.
Yeah, so the original Rocky movie was directed by Sylvester Stallone. Well, no, that's saying the film franchise. The original movie was directed by John G. Avildsen, okay? But then later on in these movies, like Sylvester Stallone started directing these movies, so I just want to make that clear.
Right,
but my point,
the thing with Sylvester Stallone is he, if you watch this series on Netflix called Sly, you see how much he has done to get to that point, and that you can. I'm saying he's done his homework and he's put in the time and everything like that. So that doesn't seem, when I look back, it's amazing that he did that, but he had a lot of his upbringing and all the stuff that he did, small stuff, led up to that success. Now I don't know. We only see her the 4 things she wrote for, and then she's given this directory. She may, I don't know. I'm just giving her the benefit. She may have a background where she kind of has the street smarts to be able to do this, and somebody recognized that. I mean, I didn't think about that, but that's why Rocky was so successful, is because Sylvester Stallone, he basically pulled everything together that he had to do that. Now, I don't know if this young lady does that or not, but
the thing that I was going to say though about like Rocky in particular, or even like I said, Good Will Hunting is thinking about how these no-name people came out of nowhere. Another one actually, a recent example was that the Super Mario Bros. Movie, the people who wrote and directed that and did everything for that were not people who had experience in making movies. Some of them made video games, some of them did some other stuff, but in directing and writing movies, they hadn't done that, a feature-length film. So, but my point about like Rocky and Good Will Hunting is, after you go see Rocky, you say to yourself, the people behind this movie made a unique thing, and I don't think that anyone else Like that team of people, and especially Sylvester Stallone, because he's kind of the face of the whole Rocky series, and Rambo, which he also did directing parts to. They made something special that was to them, okay? And Ben Affleck and Matt Damon making Good Will Hunting, you look at that and you go, like, I haven't really seen anything like this, so it must be, at least in my mind, I think, then this was something special to them, right? Okay, so then I look at this movie and I think to myself, I don't know Nia DaCosta, I haven't seen anything else she's directed because she hasn't directed anything, but in this movie, regardless of whether it was a good movie or not, did she make something that was special to her that I don't think another director could have made?
That's a good question. I don't think so. That's my first impression.
Yeah,
it's unique because she's getting the second to, Captain Marvel. I mean, it's a different situation. She's inheriting the franchise, I guess.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really not trying to really criticize her. This is more of me criticizing the production company for giving her this movie when, like we said, it's just an odd choice given that she doesn't really have a good directorial history to be then given a movie in the largest franchise ever. I mean, the MCU, even if all the criticisms into you currently, it's still the largest movie franchise that has ever existed. So it's just a goofy decision. So I don't want to dwell on that too much, but just think about those things as we move forward, or in your own criticisms of the movie if you've already watched the movie. Think about those things as we move forward. Okay, so no directorial credits for the director. We have the music. So music is by Laura Karpman. She's most well known for American Fiction from 2023. She also did a TV miniseries called 61st Street. Now, I say TV miniseries, because if you notice, like I did Apple TV Plus miniseries, I said those things. I don't actually know where this TV miniseries is playing. On IMDb, it's listed as I just did a real quick Google search, actually. It's listed as AMC. So I don't know if they have their own streaming service or if it's on TV, because AMC is on TV as well. So, but 61st Street. But that was a TV miniseries from 2022 to 2023. So I haven't seen American Fiction, and I haven't seen 61st Street, but I have seen this movie, and so have you. So I will ask you, what did you think of the music here?
It was fine. I don't think there was anything that just stood out to me that it was terrible or anything like that.
Okay.
Now I think that she's got some background with music. So I mean, she's older and probably more seasoned. So this probably wasn't a bad choice to have to do the music and stuff like that. She's got a ton of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically,
I think she's a pretty good pick if they're going to pick somebody.
Right. So although the music is a small part, it's considered a small part. I think it actually has a large impact. So that's why we mentioned the music. But production overall, I would say, so you have Marvel Studios' name on it, and then a bunch of unknown people, and then the music department is good. Okay, so
yeah.
So it's kind of like, basically, if you took this and it wasn't a Marvel movie, this probably wouldn't have gotten as much buzz, just because of the people who are directing and writing it, which can either be, like, when we get to the end of this review, if, or if you've seen the movie, you might look at, if you didn't like the movie, you'd look at it and go, well, that just makes sense. Now, if you really liked the movie, I'm talking to the audience, if you really liked the movie, then you'd go, wow, it's so amazing that these, like, unknown people did this great movie. Okay, so it's not necessarily a bad thing to have a bunch of unknowns. It's just, like I said, think about that as we move forward with criticisms. So, The Godfather, the guy who wrote The Godfather, he never wrote a movie. But he wrote The Godfather, and then afterwards it was very successful, so he went and he said, I'm going to learn how to write a movie. So he took a class, and in the class that he was writing the movie for screenwriting, or he read a book. They gave him a book, and he was reading through the book. And in the first chapter of the book, it said, "If you want to know how to write a good screenplay, go watch The Godfather."
So was he the author of the book, and then he wrote the screenplay for the movie? Is that what you're saying?
No, was The Godfather a book?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm saying the guy who wrote the screenplay for the movie The Godfather had never written a screenplay before. He took a class on how to write screenplays, okay? And in the book for the class, he was reading it, and it said, in the first chapter, it said, if you want to know how to write a good screenplay, go watch the movie The Godfather, which he made having never written one before and never knowing anything about writing screenplays before. So,
yes, it was a book before it was a film. That's usually the case.
Yeah. But yeah. So it was. It's just an interesting story of someone who's never done that before, and they did do a really good job. So, okay. So, but I think that basically wraps up production. So just think about those things as we move forward into our other criticisms and praises of the movie. Okay. So then moving on to the plot. So the runtime for this movie was 1 hour and 45 minutes. So we always go through the IMDb plot summary, and there's 2 of them, so I'm going to read them both. The first one goes like this. Carol Danvers gets her powers entangled with those of Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau, forcing them to work together to save the universe. And then the second one is as such. Carol Danvers, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, has reclaimed her identity from the tyrannical Kree and taken revenge on the Supreme Intelligence. But unintended consequences see Carol shouldering the burden of a destabilized universe. When her duties send her to an anomalous wormhole linked to a Kree revolutionary, her powers become entangled with that of a Jersey City superfan, Kamala Khan, also known as Miss Marvel, and Carol's estranged niece, now Saber astronaut captain Monica Rambeau. And just so you guys know, it's mentioned here, so I'm just going to... So Saber is like the next... It's S.H.I.E.L.D. Saber. So in the comic books, there was Sword and there was S.H.I.E.L.D. And S.H.I.E.L.D. dealt with threats to Earth on Earth, and and Sword dealt with threats to Earth that were in space. So I think that Saber is supposed to be the comic book's S.H.I.E.L.D., or comic book's Sword, but it's just called Saber now, and it's basically S.H.I.E.L.D. in space. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah, okay, so first of all, what did you think of the plot summary? I think that they actually did a good job, like, as far as being spoiler-free. I think that sums up the movie pretty well. What did you think?
I think that's correct. I mean, I think it was fun to watch how it played out in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you like...
Some of the trailers show that, but I think it was kind of fun to see it play out and stuff like that. It's kind of the tension in the plot.
Yeah. So yeah, did you like the plot of this movie? Like, what did you think?
Yes, I did like it. I thought it was good. It was a good plot. I mean, it's
okay.
I don't want to jump to conclusions. It's not. Is it the best plot that Marvel's ever done? No. Is it the worst one?
Okay.
No. I think it's up there and a pretty good one. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. It played out well, and then they go through a couple different, I call them scenes where they go into different environments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it played out well in those.
So yeah, I would agree with you, and I do it like again. I think so. I'm going to have more criticisms than other Mike of this movie. We haven't explicitly told each other how we feel about it in the details of things, but I have more criticisms of this movie than him just based on the little conversations about it we've had so far. I believe so. We'll find out, I guess, as we reveal more to each other. But I think that the plot alone is good. I mean, you basically have a reason for superheroes to come together and challenge the big bad guy who's trying to do some bad stuff. I mean, that's pretty much a winning formula. I think that things, just in general, like Hollywood, gets really complicated. So, like in the past, I'll tell you this. So, like I think I've talked to you about this, is that I watched Endgame. I really loved Infinity War, and it's one of my favorite movies. then you watch Endgame and you go, oh yeah, Endgame, I liked it. It was really good. It was the ending of the whole thing with Thanos and all that. And then you kind of go back and you look at it and you go, there was just some things that they did in it that were problems. And then and the movie for me over time, just as I thought about it more and more over time, I just started to realize, like, actually, I don't know if I did like Endgame so much. Like, it was okay, but it wasn't like some great thing. And I think that just has to do with them trying to overcomplicate the plot. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So I think that here we have a simple plot that is a solid foundation to work off of, and then I'm going to get into some criticisms of it here. So one thing that I thought is that the power entanglement that they explained, you've seen it in the trailers, where Captain Marvel will power up and then she switches places with either Monica Rambeau or Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't necessarily a bad gimmick. I think that the two criticisms I have for it were that it wasn't explained in the best way, like why that happens that way. And then the other thing is that it has absolutely no explanation to the resolution. So I don't want to, no spoilers here, but in the end of the movie, or towards the end of the movie, they kind of resolve this issue. And there's literally just a scene where one of the characters, and this isn't a spoiler because it's not a spoiler. It's like some stuff happens and then one of the characters just goes, "Oh, that's not a thing anymore." And then I was like, "Oh." Like, I thought that they were I was hoping that they would kind of do a little bit more with that. I don't know, does that make sense? Like, without spoiling it, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think at the end, how they resolved it. I don't know if it's resolved or not, because they probably are going to continue with something else after it. But I think how they ended it was kind of a little confusing to me. I mean, it was resolved, but it ended up kind of weird to me. But that's what kind of, I thought it was strange how it panned out after the resolution. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it makes sense it's going to make sense to people who have seen the movie. We're avoiding spoilers. Because we don't do any spoilers unless we explicitly say, like, hey, we're about to spoil something. So basically we have for some clarification here. So we have a battle between the Kree. There's some stuff that ties in with I'm going to tell you the truth. I didn't watch Secret Invasion, but there's some stuff that ties in with the first movie with the Skrulls and Secret Invasion. That's not exactly what the movie is about. They're just kind of there. Like the Skrulls are in the beginning, and then we move away from that. One thing, so that was just one point that I put here. One thing that I put talking about, so this movie does not take place on Earth. It's out in space, dealing with the Kree, which we've seen in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and then they showed up in Avengers was it Endgame? They showed up. No, it was in Captain Marvel as well. Yeah, the Kree showed up. We're in Captain Marvel. Sorry, I was thinking of that guy with the hammer. That big guy with the hammer is Kree guy. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy. So this movie kind of takes place on a couple of different planets because it has to do with the Kree trying to steal certain things from different planets. And Captain Marvel getting involved with that. One planet that they go to is the Singing Planet, and you're going to know this from the trailers. So, the Singing Planet is a funny little section of the movie where everybody talks to each other by singing, and if you don't sing your words, then the people don't understand. One thing that I didn't so much dislike this. The whole singing gimmick. It's really a gimmick, which isn't necessarily bad. But it's just that it lasts for about 10 minutes, and the movie, kind of very self-aware, has Monica Rambeau. She tells a line to Kamala Khan. She says, "Doesn't this feel like a Captain Marvel fan fiction?" And I'm going to tell you, it's okay to take a little bit of a break, right? I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying that it does feel like a Captain Marvel fan fiction. It felt like this was something made up by a fan, and then maybe even a younger person, and then and like they gave that idea. They wrote it down, gave it to the production company. The production company said, "Oh yeah, we do think it would be funny if she went to a singing planet," and then they put it in the movie. You know what I'm saying?
I thought it was kind of unique. I really liked it because it in the movie it kind of changed the pace, and I think it kept your attention in the movie with the singing planet. I thought it was a little bit of comedy in there. You know, there is a lot of comedy in it, but I thought that was kind of a little interesting twist.
Yeah.
Because then you talk about linguistics, like the way people speak. I mean, there's some people in Africa that speak with a click.
Yeah.
What they're speaking, to me it was just like, yeah, some creativity there. I thought that was pretty cool that they put that in there. I don't think they're going to have a Marvel movie about the singing planet, but it was nice. I liked it. Yeah. I really did.
Yeah. No, and it's great. To be very clear to everybody, too, who's listening, like, some of this does come down to taste. I mean, it is subjective, so just bear with us as we bring our, you know. So I personally did not like the Singing Planet so much. I wouldn't have even mentioned it or had any real criticisms or anything of it if it was like a real quick thing. It's just that it went on a little bit long for me, and it felt less natural than some of the comedy that we've seen in the MCU in the past. Like with the Guardians of the Galaxy, all of the comedy is pretty much topical. Like it has to do with, this is my personality, so I interact with you, and then I say something funny because of my personality or because of the way that I am or something, or something, you know, and then the other people will comment on it and they make fun of each other, which just feels a little bit more natural than we go to a planet where everybody sings. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying subjectively, I didn't like that as much. It wasn't like breaking the movie or anything, but I just you know, I'm just talking about my criticisms. Okay. One thing that I will say, and probably the biggest criticism I have for the plot of the movie, is that it did feel a little bit rushed. And this is even hard for me to talk about because I watch all of the, you know, I watch most of the series. I watch the movies. As someone who didn't watch Miss Marvel, I understand who Miss Marvel is from, you know, the comic books and some of the video games and stuff. So I knew who that was. That was fine for me. And I also knew who Monica Rambeau was because I watched WandaVision. And yeah, she was in WandaVision. I think that's the only thing we saw her in.
Yeah, she was.
So did you watch WandaVision?
I did.
Okay, so this is where it's hard as a reviewer because I know who Monica Rambeau is, and so a lot of the stuff made sense. Now I'm trying to place myself and imagine like never seeing WandaVision and never seeing Miss Marvel, and then you have a movie where there's this character who has had one movie paired up with two characters who have had no movies, and I have no idea who they are. And then they have to introduce those people. So for one thing, I felt like it seemed to me anyway, subjectively again, that it was a little bit rushed because they have this thing where they have exposition that they're telling rather than kind of showing, which leads to things not having as much emotional weight, okay? But also on top of that, if you didn't know who Monica Rambeau is, this movie would have been harder to watch as well. What do you think about that?
Well, I forgot about her being in WandaVision. So to me, when I watched the movie, I was trying to figure out who she was, and finally figured out that she was the niece of her friend, and that was kind of weird.
Oh well, the daughter
was older. Yeah, the daughter was older, and
yeah,
I'm like, what's the time? Kind of how long was she been an astronaut? And then here comes Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel looks about like she did when she was little. So that kind of messed with me a little bit. The timeline, you know, with the with her. Yeah, I didn't know how to take that. That was me. I thought that was a little frustrating. I thought that, talk about rushing, it seemed like they just kind of just threw a time period in the middle of this, and then it's like, does that just take off the whole timeline of the Marvels, you know, movies and stuff like that? Because she's not like a teenager. I'm just, and I don't know how old she is.
Yeah.
She's a captain, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, captain. She could be about late 20s possibly.
Yeah.
But when she was a kid, she was like 8, 9 or something. I don't know how old she was. So say 20 years. I mean, that kind of messed with me there. I didn't like the timeline with that.
Yeah.
So that was weird. You know what I'm saying? It was almost, to me, it jumped forward quite a bit from the previous Captain Marvel. To me, it's kind of hard to contain the timeline. I don't quite understand that.
So for one thing, I'll just tell you, Captain Marvel doesn't age like Brie Larson's character. Carol Danvers doesn't age.
I get that.
Yeah. But then, actually, and I haven't thought about that. This isn't even in my notes or anything. Looking at Nick Fury, how old he was, then how he's aged and everything. Yeah, it's interesting to think. Like, did they actually do the time? This might it might be an actual plot hole. It might actually be a plot hole that isn't necessarily totally world breaking or anything, but there might be a plot hole here in where there hasn't been enough time, or there's been too much time that has passed. Did they line up the timelines correctly from, I don't know what year Captain Marvel was supposed to have taken place, or if it's probably out there somewhere in the internet.
It would have been back in the 80s. It would have been back in the 80s, so that would, I guess maybe that the timeline's okay thinking about it, but and to me with the plot and everything like that, because there's kind of a subplot between Captain Marvel and her.
Yeah.
And it seems like a long time to try to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. That might be something that is either just not expressed the best, or it might be a plot hole. I would tell everybody who's watching this, go check it out yourself, and let us know in the comments section down below, because I didn't look it up, and I'm not going to now because of time. But yeah, I'll have to look into that a little more. That might be a plot hole, but if it's not a plot hole, it's at least not expressed in the best way. We'll put it that way.
Right. You made a good point with Nick Fury. How old is he?
Right. Because in the first one, like, if he's a government agent, some super secret agent for some big, like in order for you, I don't know what people know of the military, but we're both veterans, okay? You do not join the military at 18 and then in the next 3 years become a Delta Force operator, super secret spy agent. Most likely what Nick Fury would have done is been in the military, either enlisted or an officer, most likely an officer, worked through, become like a major or a captain or something, and then been selected from there for some government agency thing, and then he would have gone to S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's some secret thing, and been in S.H.I.E.L.D. for a little while. So you're talking about, like, Nick Fury in the first movie couldn't have been, he probably was around 30. Could have been around 30, to be a good timeline. And then how old is he now? Because if it happened in the 80s and then it's supposed to be modern day, what is he? Is he like 70 years old in these movies? So yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good catch. Thank you, Other Mike. Round of applause for Other Mike. Awesome. No, really, because that like blows my mind now thinking about that. So those are some things to think about with the plot as we move forward. Okay, so I didn't have anything other than that for the plot. I'm just wondering, like, did you have anything?
I thought with the plot, okay, so you have, I don't think I gave you that. You have two characters who already have powers, and then one acquires powers, and I just couldn't quite grasp the left and right limits of Rambo's powers in this. That just kind of seemed like more game and stuff like that. I was having a hard time following that.
Right. Okay. No, and that's a good point. I will just say to that, my comment to that is that, so again, this is another thing that I was saying about kind of rushing things because of introducing these different characters. Monica Rambeau gains powers and this is no spoilers because this would be a spoiler for WandaVision, and it's been out for years now. Go watch it if you haven't watched it already. Forget about it. But yeah, WandaVision. So she gains powers in WandaVision. We with these particular characters, Captain Marvel has had one movie where they didn't clearly define exactly what her powers were, but at least we've seen her use them, so we do know what the idea is. We see Monica Rambeau use her powers for like 5 seconds in the end of WandaVision, and then here, yeah, we don't have, like I said, again, a left and right limit. Probably the most defined character here is Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, because she has a series where we see her, where you're going to see her use her powers. So yeah, I would say Captain Marvel, I can just let that go, and we understand she's super strong, can fly, and shoot energy blasts. Okay, and then I agree with you, Monica Rambeau. She says what her powers are here, but then you don't actually get like defining moments where you go, okay, this is how powerful this character is. This is the things that this character can do. So yeah, I would agree with you about that. Okay, so then, but I would just, okay, so if there's nothing else, then we can move into characters and acting. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, awesome. Yeah, okay, cool. So, characters today. So, in the past, we've done it where I've listed the character or the actor and then named their character, and then we talk about it. Here, I'm going to just go through this kind of like the production companies. I'm going to go through it real quick, and then we're going to talk about everybody at the end. Okay, so, yeah, characters and actors. So, we start off with going down the list from IMDb. We have Brie Larson, who plays Carol Danvers, or Captain Marvel. She is most well known for the movie Room, which actually I've read the book for. I haven't seen the movie. I've got to see it because I loved the book. But Room from 2015.
Is that the one where she's like taken in, guy keeps her in the backyard and stuff like that with the little boy?
Yes, yeah.
I've seen that. I have seen the movie, and I didn't realize that she won an Academy Award with that, but
yeah.
I think she won one.
Yep. Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. That's a great movie. I saw that, and it was whoever did a great job directing it. She did a good job in it. That was really that's probably a breakout role for her. Would you think? But man, it was really good. I would see that. I would encourage people to see that. It's a true story too, I believe.
Yeah, and read the book. Read the book.
Yeah, read the book.
Yeah, so that was from 2015. So then she was also in most recently she's done, other than this movie, is Lessons in Chemistry, which was a TV miniseries. We talked about it before earlier from this year in 2023. And then we have Teyonah Parris, who plays Monica Rambeau. She was in a movie, are most well known for a movie Dear White People from 2014. Most recently, she was in a movie called Dashing Through the Snow from earlier in 2023. We have Imam Vellani, who plays Kamala Khan or Miss Marvel. She has only been in the show from 2022, Miss Marvel. So that's her one credit here. And then Samuel Jackson. He is Nick Fury, most well known for Pulp Fiction in 1994. Also, most recently did The Killing Room from 2023. We have Zawi, Z-A-W-E. So I'm not sure if it's Za or Zawi, but Zawi Ashton.
Zawi.
Okay, so she's Tom Hiddleston's wife, by the way, just letting everybody know. And she plays Dar Ben, who is the bad guy in the movie, the bad lady in the movie. Most well known for Velvet Buzzsaw from 2019, and was also in a movie Maryland in 2022. So, let's. I guess we can start wide and go kind of focused here. So just your overall, not anybody necessarily specific, but anything about the characters or the acting in general in the movie.
I can't see any gaping holes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think what. I guess you figure it out. With Dar-Ben, I'm sitting there. Who is this person? And then I finally figure out what their beef is at the end. I guess that's just the way they wrote it and stuff. But
yeah.
Yeah. I think they all did pretty good and stuff like that. I didn't see anybody who's just like, all five of the main actors were pretty good. I didn't see anything that, the gaping holes. I thought that the Kamala Khan, I thought she I don't think it's given away, but her in a relationship with Captain Marvel was kind of cute. She's a teenager, and teenagers have idols, and she acted like somebody who was excited to see their idol and everything like that. So I liked that part. I thought she did a really good job with that. I thought with Brie Larson, again, going back to the singing planet, I thought her singing in that part was actually, I thought, wow, she's not too bad. I thought she did a pretty good job. I mean, I know you don't care for that part, but I thought that was kind of neat to see her her breakout in some kind of little bit of a musical there in the middle of the movie. And Samuel Jackson. The other ones were fine. They didn't do anything. There's no gaping holes in their ability to act. They all did a fine job. But I think the young lady, she's kind of fun to watch, and she played her part, I think, like a teenager to the hill, dealing with her parents and stuff like that. I'm not giving anything away. It was kind of fun.
So I'm going to tell you, like, when we come to our final statement and review score, this is going to be interesting because I agree with everything, like literally everything you said. I'm going to clarify some things here in what I have to say about the characters and the acting here. But like, I agree with everything that you just said. I just think that there is kind of comes to taste. So, some of this comes down to taste. I will say that. Okay.
Right.
So for my biggest thing, kind of my general, and then I'm gonna kind of talk about this specific characters and acting and stuff. But for my general kind of like big thing here is that I don't think that we progressed much with any of these characters. Like, so we have a character like Monica Rambeau we talked about, but you don't really get a clear definition of her powers here, but that's where she started. By the end of the movie for Carol Danvers, you don't have... I'm just saying, like, nothing really changes with these characters. Kamala Khan comes in. She has her specific power set. When she leaves the movie, she's just in kind of the same place as she was in the beginning. Carol Danvers comes in and leaves the same way. So my thing is just that there wasn't a whole lot of development with the individual characters. We have each of these characters now being introduced to each other, so possibly in the future as we move forward, we can have more of Kamala Khan, Carol Danvers, and Monica Rambeau working together or kind of starting some kind of superhero group or something like that. But you didn't have... I think of the biggest one that I think of is the Thor movie had the greatest character development because you have Thor come in. He's this arrogant brat, and then by the end of the movie, he learns to love someone. And he also learns that he's an arrogant brat, and he's got to change. And we didn't get a whole lot. I wouldn't say that we really got a moment like that here, where it's like, I am Captain Marvel. This is a fatal flaw of mine. I need to be different to be better, or something like that with any of these characters. So that was like my big thing with the characters. The acting I thought was great. I criticized. I didn't do a review of the first Captain Marvel movie, but I have. So just kind of going down the list here. So with Brie Larson, I criticized her acting in a couple of different things that we've talked about. I think in the summit I talked about how Brie Larson, like last year's summit, I talked about how Brie Larson is kind of this character that is not like Carol Danvers is this kind of deadpanned character. Like she's very, I'm real tough, and they try to push this narrative of like tough, strong, independent woman, but what that means to these people apparently is a person who doesn't like anybody and is kind of mean. But for one thing, I will say that Brie Larson, like you said, The Room, I read the book, I didn't see the movie yet, but I've seen her in other things too. And she's a great actress. She's an Academy Award-winning actress. She's really good. I don't know why when they have her come into this role, it seems like somebody has to be telling her, listen, you are going to be like kind of deadened. Like we don't want you to have a whole lot of emotions or something. One thing that I did like about this movie though, which is actually showcased in that scene that again I didn't so much care for as a whole, but I did like that we get to see her in the singing planet. She smiles and shows a little bit of character, and even when she's talking about certain things in this movie, you see her act, I mean, basically even act a little bit more like a normal person. In the first Captain Marvel movie, and in the Infinity War and the Endgame movie, you see her kind of just be like, I'm Captain Marvel, and I have powers and stuff, and I'm going to help save the world. And I'm like, why are you having Brie Larson play the character that way? Yeah. Any thoughts on that? Like,
she has a heart, and we find out she has a heart in this movie.
Yeah. And I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Has a heart. She's tender.
Yeah.
We see that side of her. She has regret, for what she's done in the past. So I don't want to give away anything, but
yeah,
I think so he has developed in that way. We do see some things in her character that are good, and we actually see some things in her character that are regrets.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I do agree with that. And that's kind of a callback to the first movie and some of the other stuff we've seen her in too, is what you're talking about there, and I agree with that. So I didn't really have anything to say about Monica Rambeau's character or actress. She does fine. One thing is, again, like I said, this was written in my notes. I'm reading this from my notes, so you guys know I'm not just listening to other mic here. I'll read it verbatim from my notes so you can hear me. This is what I said. Kamala Khan's character, over-the-top, goofy / childish actor, or childish. I wrote actor, but I meant character. So this is like when you take this would be like taking a normal person or like a cartoon, not a cartoon character. Do you know those like teen drama shows? You know, so it's not supposed to be necessarily the most serious television, but you have like a teen drama character and you put her into a serious thing. And I liked it. Actually, I think that this girl carried this movie. And actually, this almost makes me want to go watch Miss Marvel with the way that her acting is, because they really, all of the energy that they have denied Brie Larson's character, and I'm not talking about the actor, because Brie Larson herself is a good actor, but all of the criticisms of her character in Carol Danvers and Captain Marvel, I would say Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan's character, is the exact opposite. So she's high energy, she's excited, she's like, man, I'm with superheroes, and I got superpowers, and this is the coolest thing ever, and it's a really good, I really actually liked it. So I think that was great. The other big criticism that I had, so moving forward, or if you want to say something about Kamala Khan any more than you already did, so then I agree with you. Yeah, so then Samuel Jackson's character, though, I do just want to say, they made him a little bit more goofy and funny here than they have in the past. I believe that they did that, and they did that in the Secret Invasion show, and I think that that's a mistake. I don't necessarily think that he's a bad character here, but he's just shown as more goofy and a little bit funny, you know. But in the past, he's basically always been portrayed as like this very serious, very cool character, very intense. And if he loses that, then you've lost. I mean, he's losing it. He's lost something. And I think that character is kind of needed sometimes to ground these stories. And so to reveal him as being a little bit of a goofy guy, I think is going to be a mistake moving forward.
I don't think he was that goofy. I think he probably saw a little bit more than in the other movies. But what I liked was just some of he was calm and cool and showed great leadership in some of the scenes. Yeah. When people are getting a little upset and he's like, yeah, just hang on, you know, and he didn't make a rash decision and stuff like that. But I kind of like that part of his character, the leadership that he showed, and maybe that some of the humor came out with his leadership.
Okay, yeah, sure. I would just say, like, so in the comics, he's like a very intense. In the comics, he's like a World War II veteran. Like, I don't mean that he was a World War II veteran. I mean, like, in the comics, though, he's like, think like Clint Eastwood type of character. He's like, you know, come on, go ahead and make my day. You know, like, so he gets up in people's faces. Like, it's always funny in the comics, him and Wolverine kind of clash, because Wolverine is like very hard-headed, and Wolverine will get right up in his face and be like, Nick Fury, like, I don't care who you think you are, I'm the Wolverine. And then Nick Fury, he doesn't stand down either. He's like, Wolverine, I'll have you, you better watch it, because I'll take care of you, you know, because they're both basically super powerful. Not as far as physically, but I mean, like, Nick Fury is the leader of Shield, and then Wolverine is like, "Oh, you can't kill me. I don't care. I'll beat you up. Yeah. So, but yeah, so you don't get. We kind of had a little bit. I just mean to say that we had more of that in other movies, and then here we just got a little less of that. It's not breaking the character. It's just that there's a progression. I just mean to say that it's like if you put him on a spectrum of being like this cool, serious guy, and then over here is Goofy. You don't want him to slide too far to the Goofy. That's all I'm saying. Okay. That was kind of a criticism of the Thor movie, the last Thor movie, Love and Thunder, is that you had this really serious Thor movie in the third Thor, Thor, what was it? The second Thor, Dark World.
Love and Thunder.
And then Yeah, but I mean, like in the Thor Dark World movie, he was a very serious character. In Thor Ragnarok, they made him funny, and it was great, and it's like my favorite Thor movie. And then in Thor Love and Thunder, he's a joke. Like, he's just a joke. They make him a joke character, and it's like, I just mean to say I don't want Nick Fury to slide into being a joke character. So.
I don't either. I don't think that's going to happen. I think to me, it just kind of feels like that's probably I don't know what the future. Hopefully that, like you said, that's the limit of his humor.
Yeah.
It's appropriate for his character.
Yeah. And then we have Ashton. Zawi Ashton. Yeah, we kind of talked about Zawi. But she plays Dar-Ben. Basically, if you don't... So I don't think a lot of people are going to understand this, so I'm just going to explain it here. Dar-Ben is the judge for the Kree. What was his name? Roland was the judge in Guardians of the Galaxy, the first movie. So she is one of the leaders of the Kree. And that's not really explained in the movie. She does a fine act as far as being an actor, but her character and her motivations are not fleshed out very well here. Towards the end of the movie, they just kind of say, "This is why I'm doing what I'm doing," and then the movie moves on. But like her as an actual character, other than being a plot device for the reason the movie has to happen, isn't really there. I really would have liked. Because all of these actors are great, so they have the formula, or they have the raw materials to make these characters fleshed out. They just have to do it, and I don't think that they did that here with her character very well, which is a big criticism of the MCU in as a whole, is that the villains tend to be kind of one note. They tend to just be there to make the movie happen. Like if you contrasted her with Thanos, who is like this great three-dimensional character, she's nowhere near Thanos. So, and I will say, in the promotional material for this movie, they literally kind of pushed her as kind of being a Thanos-like character, as being kind of his replacement. I don't think that they necessarily meant like her to be the next big bad guy for the MCU, but there literally was this in the promotional material in the trailer. They have Thanos actually in the background. He's saying, "If you kill me, more will rise up behind me." And as they say that, you see her doing stuff, and so you kind of get that idea of like, oh, this is going to be like another big bad movie for this, a big bad character for the MCU moving forward, and they just do not develop her character for that in any way, like they just don't. So those are my critics. Yeah,
that's a good point. That she is kind of a one note character. She does remind me of the guy in Guardians of the Galaxy. They're very similar, real dark, set on one thing.
Yeah.
Nothing else. No, you can't persuade them in any way. Anybody gets in their way, they're dead.
Yeah. Well, and then the thing is that hammer that she has, that's his hammer. It doesn't specifically say it, but that's actually his hammer. So from the comic books, it explains how like the Kree have this judge, and the judge is kind of like one of the rulers of the planet, and that hammer is the judge's hammer. So when he died, it would have been passed on to somebody else. So. It was destroyed in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, so they must have remade it. But anyway, that's the thing. Okay, so then let's... I think I'm good, ready to move on to the miscellaneous section here?
Sure.
Yeah, I just have a few things. Do you have anything like right off the bat that you're like, hey, this is just something I want to talk about that wasn't in any of the other categories?
Go ahead. Let me think. I don't think I have anything. I don't know if there's anything else that stood out in the movie. Maybe, I don't know. It seemed pretty solid to me. I don't think there's anything miscellaneous that I can think of I think maybe the timeline was the one thing that kind of I'm trying to figure out. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to go into the movie too much because I don't want to give it away, but
yeah,
there's questions of like, what they're trying to resolve, and I don't know how it ended. Kind of, again, that's kind of. I'm still thinking about that. I don't know if I like the way that it ended. After after it's resolved, how it ended, it just seemed kind of odd and stuff. But anyways, go ahead, Michael.
All right, yeah, no. So I will say that it's the resolution of the movie is a little bit sketchy. Again, I don't want to give anything away. So there's like one thing that I could say that maybe would make that clear, but at the same time, it might spoil some stuff. So I don't want to give that away. But yeah, I'm picking up what you're getting down, and I think that putting down, and I think that other people who watch the movie will as well. So we kind of talked about this. Just some real quick notes to go over that I put down here. So bringing all of the characters together from other properties makes it difficult to develop them effectively, and then you're just gonna, which I kind of talked about. But a big part of the criticisms of some of these movies is just that is basically the series. When you have series that then feed into movies, that actually sucks because not everybody wants to. There are people who just want to watch the movies, who don't want to watch the series. Monica Rambeau and Kamala Khan are all from their whole character development up to the point of the start of this movie is from a series. So I just think that that's a mistake, and that's not. I don't know if that's so much a criticism of this movie necessarily as it is just all of the MCU as a whole. So some of this felt copy and paste. Now I want to be very clear. The hero's journey and all of these things. We've been telling the same stories for thousands of years, millions of years, whatever you believe about how old the Earth is. But it doesn't always feel copy and paste. Most of the time, like when you have a good story, most of the time it's very much so. If you strip it all down, it comes down to a specific formula of how to tell a story. But in the way that it's executed, it doesn't feel copy and pasted. Here, it kind of felt like, we've kind of seen other MCU movies that have a lot of the stuff. Now, this is from me. Again, I don't know how other Mike feels about this specifically, but subjectively, I thought that this felt a little bit too much copy and paste for me. Sorry, guys, I just got a phone call, so I had to cut it there, so you'll see the cut. But yeah, I just felt a little bit copy and paste. I mean, did you feel that? Like, what?
Well, I mean, all of these Marvel movies are, you're fighting the bad guy and you have to defeat him and stuff like that. So I think there is some similarities between all of them. I mean, this was kind of, when you got into it, you knew who was going to get, what was going to happen to the bad guy and how it was going to finish and stuff like that. You had a kind of a general idea. And I think that's kind of the same way when you go into some of the other Marvel movies, but this one was very generic when it came to that. You just it was easy to figure out.
Yeah.
Compared like to Ant-Man, like the last one, I thought that one was actually wasn't cut and a lot different than I thought it would end. So
yeah. So yeah, and I want to be clear too. I don't think that always makes a movie necessarily bad. It's just the feeling. It's like as you're going through the movie, if you start to realize that you're watching a movie, then the movie wasn't as effective. Like if you feel like you're watching a movie while you're watching a movie, the movie maybe. It's not going to get an Academy Award. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so I did think that some of the dialogue was cringy at times. I don't want to so I didn't write any of it down because I don't want to give anything away. I will say, though, there is one scene where Monica Rambeau, like one specific thing where Monica Rambeau is trying to do something using her powers, and Nick Fury actually says, I don't know if you caught this, but he actually says, like, this is what he said, okay? He said something like, use those black lady powers or use the black lady vibes or something to do something.
Black girl magic! Black girl magic! Black girl magic!
And I was like, I mean, Yeah, in isolation, it's funny, but then when you watch some parts of this movie, they use dialogue like that, and it's like, I mean, you might laugh at dialogue, but at the same time, it's cringy. So it's like, come on. I mean, we could have thought of something else for the character to say. So I thought that the dialogue could get a little bit cringy at times. A good example of like cringy but good was Kamala Khan's character, because she's just a goofy teenager, so it makes sense that she'd say things that are a little bit cringy. But then some of it, though, I was just like, you could have written that just a little better. And then I also wanted to say that I think the action, there wasn't as much action as I would have liked when you compare it to other MCU movies. I think that the biggest issue was that you have 3 characters, and so you'll have scenes where one character is doing some fighting or doing something, and then over here, and then there's another character over here, and they're over here, and then they have this power swapping thing. So the action is kind of segmented between the 3 characters. So you have a sequence where it's like one character punching and fighting, and then it has to jump over to another character, and the momentum, I don't know. I think that it's just a little bit stagnated. It's not necessarily bad. It's just I don't think it was as good.
But didn't you think the one kind of a side note on that? Didn't you? And maybe this is misplaced. Is that Kamala's parents? They're hilarious because the way they're dealing with her. And they're trying to discipline her. How do you discipline a superhero daughter? And stuff like that. But they're funny. I thought they were hilarious in it. Just the way that they were acting, and some of the parts where they're switching powers, like you said. That's what kind of added to it. So I don't want to give it away, but they are kind of they're not the main characters, but those actors were pretty funny in it. I really liked them. I thought, and the brother too. I thought they did a good job in their small roles.
Yeah, I would say that's why I was saying, like, I think that probably this makes, I don't know if I'm going to actually do it, but it makes me want to go see Kamala Khan's show, like, because you do see that her character actually was done well. I liked her acting of the character. I don't know how the writing for the show was, but I liked her acting of the character. I will say this, by the way, just to clarify. So there's one, in these movies, there tends to be like a couple of action set piece parts. There is the in the beginning, towards the beginning of the movies, there's an action set piece part where they're doing a lot of the power swapping. And I thought that was great. Actually, I thought that scene was good. It was more later on. Later on, there's one particular scene that's supposed to be like this big, now we're with the bad guys. And you see the power swapping happening, and I don't think it was bad, but it was just, it wasn't as good as some of the other stuff we've seen. That's all I mean to say. And then the other thing that I have for the miscellaneous section is that we do have post-credit scenes. We have one. So the post-credit scene, there's some CGI in it that I think wasn't the best in the post-credit scene, especially compared to the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie is like MCU quality CGI. You think that you're there, nothing looks wrong. Then you get to the post-credit scene and you're like, this was made from the spare parts of the other. Like you kind of ran out of budget here a little bit, didn't you? But, I don't know. So would you say that it's worth it, like to stay after the credits for the post-credit scene?
And see, that, again, I get into the timeline thing. That kind of, I'm trying to figure that post-credit out with the timeline. What happens there. It kind of, it was a little, I mean, I know where it was at. I know what, it was kind of maybe a parallel universe. I don't think I'm giving anything away, but
you're not. You're fine.
It was a little confusing. Watch it and see what you think and stuff like that. Maybe it could be me not understanding, but it was surprising, but it was still just like, usually when you have a post-credit scene, it kind of leads into something into the future, and I didn't get that feeling with that post-credit scene.
Okay. I actually, to tell you the truth, I don't. Yeah, I would say that specifically, it's like setting up another movie or setting up a series. I actually agree with you. Now that I hadn't thought about that, but I will say that with some of the stuff that it shows, it is going, hey, You know, like, hey, this thing is here, so this is going to happen in the future. But actually setting up another thing, that's a good point. It doesn't specifically set up like, hey, oh, now I know where we're going with this. No, it doesn't really do that. Yeah.
Right. It goes back to the end. I just didn't. I kind of thought it was going to happen, but yeah, when you see the end, you know, what do you expect when the character tries to fix the problem? What do you expect?
Yeah.
What do you expect? I mean, that's what got me. So then I just thought it was kind of weird, but you know, maybe it's a curveball they throw you. Kind of, maybe there's something in the future that, you know, that might be coming back again. So.
Yeah. So listen, I will say this, and then I want to move into our final statement review score. But unless you have anything else you want to say, but like then I'm done after saying this. There is some stuff in here that would be a spoiler, so we're not going to talk about it. And possibly, if Other Mike has time or whatever, we can do a spoiler review at another time. Just for time today, I don't think that's a good idea to do right now. But there's some spoiler stuff that is going to be the thing that people are going to tear this movie apart for. Like certain, not necessarily tear it apart, but it's going to be like there's going to be people who go, well, why did this happen this way? If this happened this way, and I have them written down. I don't want to spoil anything, so I will say that be aware that there are going to be points in this movie where you're going to look at this, and if you're paying attention, and if you're a big movie buff or you're big into the MCU, you know something about some of these characters, you're going to look at this and you're going to go, well, that's kind of a plot hole. So there was plot holes. Mentioning them would spoil the movie, so I can't do that. But there was going to be some things where it's like, how did that exactly work? And I mention it now because, like you said, there were parts where you were confused. There was some stuff that you've said that I've kind of tried to clarify because I knew about it a little bit. But yeah, there is some of that. There is like, hey, that the way that worked out just didn't make any sense. So that's going to be something, I think, and actually where that is, the stuff in there, in that part of it is going to be where most of my criticisms, the biggest criticisms are. So possibly we'll do a spoiler review. If you guys want to see a spoiler review, put it in the comment section. Let us know that you want to do a spoiler review, and we'll get together and see what we can do. But otherwise, if you're ready, are you good to move into final statement review score?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. So we'll move into our final statement of review score, but before we do that, check out this message from our partners. I love my awesome Support the Troops Stormtrooper mug. Do you know where you can get a mug just like this one, but different? Bottega Krua. Bottega Krua is an Italian born and raised artisan trained at the Academy of Fine Arts in Venice, Italy. Since 2010, Bottega Krua has offered unique handmade and hand-painted ceramics, pottery, and other artistic products. You can find these products at her Etsy store by following the link down below. She also takes custom orders, but they may take longer to ship because she has to make them after you order them. So, go check out Bottega Krua to get yourself an awesome mug just like this one or the ones you've been seeing behind me as this ad has been going on. Remember, guys, supporting our partners is supporting the pack, the Action Pack. All right, so moving into our final statement and review score. So, Other Mike, do you want to go first? So, just a reminder to Other Mike and everybody else in the audience. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
So is it one? It's 1 to 5, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. So it's the 5 tiers are excellent, okay, above average, average, below average, and bad. So what do you got?
I am going to say average. I
Okay.
think it was a good. I mean, I'm not telling you not to see it, but it was average, and I don't think it like shed new light on the Marvel universe, but it didn't darken it at all. So it was a good movie. I mean, but it wasn't like, you know, I don't know why it is, but I like the Ant-Man movies. I don't know if there's just something about them that resonates with me. But this was good. I mean, my wife and I enjoyed it. It was a fun movie, but Like you said, I like that. There's some plot holes, like potholes that we had to drive through, and they were kind of bumpy.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you the truth. So I would also say, for me, average, I would also say that it is average. Now, I'm going to give a caveat. I'm going to say it's a low average for me. Again, actually, and I think that other Mike here actually summed it up really well. It didn't darken anything. It didn't break anything. It didn't make anything really bad. It's like moving forward with the MCU. So like, for instance, Fat Thor, I think that was a big mistake. I think Fat Thor made it so that way moving forward in the MCU, they either had to change Fat Thor to be skinny again, which they ended up doing, which was good. But if they hadn't done that and Thor was just fat now, that would suck for the rest of these movies. Right. Okay, so they didn't do anything like Fat Thor here. Okay, they basically what they did here was they made a movie. It's kind of self-contained in its own little thing. I would say that it was a low average for me, though, and I have a little bit more criticism than other Mike here, simply because I think that those plot holes kind of bothered me a little bit. A little bit more, and I think, just my the biggest thing here is just that it's one of those movies. So I would say stream it. I would wait to stream it. Because as far as paying to go see like a big budget movie, tickets are getting expensive now, and this really didn't have anything that really made me go like, oh man, yeah, I'm getting what I came here for. Like, oh man, this is really getting me going. I think that this would be good to sit home and watch, with your family, with your kids or whatever. Nothing too offensive as far as lore for the MCU, but and the biggest issue is actually going to come from, and actually we don't talk about the box office numbers in our reviews, but I'm going to be doing box office numbers for the next action update. And this one is doing very poorly at the box office. And the biggest criticism is not so much the movie itself necessarily, but the fact that the interest in these particular characters is very low, because people didn't like Carol Danvers, even though I think that they did a little bit better with her this movie. People don't know who Monica Rambeau is, and they don't know who Kamala Khan is. So that's like the biggest thing that makes me go, it's not that it's bad, it's just that it's not so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have done the movie on Disney, and it would probably done pretty well. On Disney itself, you could have made the movie
like Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where the movie probably should have gone. They're really trying to push Captain Marvel, but I don't see how they're going to be able to do that in the future, just because like none of her movies are so interesting to people. Honestly, and it's not even that I necessarily dislike the character myself. It's just that's just what has been shown. So I think it was a mistake to release it in theaters, because now they're losing a bunch of money. So, but that's what we've got, guys. I think, basically an average movie. Some people are going to say average as in boring and dull and not want to go see it because it has uninteresting characters, and then other people like other Mike and even myself, I think it was okay, are going to tell you. But yeah, so other people are going to tell you, hey, it was average, it was okay. I wouldn't go see it in theaters. I would just wait for it to go on Disney Plus, because that's where it's going to end up anyway. So, right. But yeah. So that's all we've got today, guys. We do want to thank you all for watching. Make sure to go and support our sponsors. Having sponsors and partners and stuff is becoming a bigger part of Mike's After Extra Reviews, and it's going to continue to become a bigger part of Mike's After Extra Reviews moving forward. So please go support them. Supporting our sponsors supports us. And yeah, that's all we've got. Other Mike, if you want to say goodbye to everybody.
Hey, it's good being with you today. Hey, have a blessed weekend. Have a blessed Thanksgiving. Just to let you know, Mike and Mike are going to have Thanksgiving together this year. So yes. Looking forward to having other Mike having Mike and his family come to my house. So that'll be a good time. But have a good Thanksgiving. God bless.
Yeah. Yeah, and from everyone here at Mike's After Extra Reviews, is myself personally, I want to thank you all just one last time and say God bless you all and have a good day. Don't forget to check me out on Twitch and join the Discord, where you can voice chat with me while I live stream, and you won't be recorded or anything on YouTube and Twitch, so that's pretty cool. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. If you like to read, you can see my after action reports on my blog. And if you are interested, you can get some merch from my spring store. The links for everything are in the description below.